Meeting to order, and we are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Birgit. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you for all the support. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And with that, we are going to move right along to new certified staff candidate introductions with Adam.
Yes, thank you very much. We have 4 to recommend tonight, and I have 2 of them in attendance with us. So we have Andy Mulville, and we have Natalie Perrigy. Andy is being recommended tonight as an ASD teacher at our Pine Tree Center. She's a familiar face around here. She worked previously both at Walden Middle School and at Pine Tree, and most recently at Lance Cruz Middle School. She earned her bachelor's degree at Oakland University and her master's degree at Grand Canyon University. And Andy Mulville, I am very pleased to welcome you back to Lake Orion.
Yes.
Natalie is Natalie's being recommended tonight as a guidance counselor at Lake Orion High School, and she too is a familiar face around here, as she has been at the high school since the fall, serving in a long-term role in the guidance counseling office. She earned her bachelor's degree from Michigan State and her master's degree from Central Michigan University. And Natalie, I am excited and pleased to welcome you full-time as a Lake Orion Dragon.
All right.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, welcome to both of you, and thank you for being here. And as we tell everybody, you are not obligated to stay, but thank you for coming tonight. So we appreciate it and look forward to getting to know you. All right. And with that, we will move right on to Mr. Mark Snyder, who I hear has a birthday today. With his learning highlights and communications updates.
I think we should sing happy birthday.
I'm ready.
I mean, if we want to.
Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mark. Happy birthday to you.
Are you one?
Thank you. This is a much better reception than I get at home, where they just ask me how much more hair I lost this year.
I get the same thing.
That's great. So thank you very much. We've had a lot of exciting things happening in the district. The number one thing is the Teacher of the Year. We're into that season, and it's been great. We recognize all 3 of the district level. The schools are doing theirs, at a time, but we've recognized all 3 of the district at the district level. Norman Wright in Orion Oaks was our elementary level Teacher of the Year. Nick Shaskos at Oakview is the middle school Teacher of the Year. And then this morning, we saw Michael Steele, the band director at the high school, as the Teacher of the Year. It's really, they all have contributed. They've all been with us for a very long time, and they've all contributed and involved so many different lives. And it's really great. I know Kevin has been, and a number of you guys have been to these events, and it really, to hear the administrators read what the families have shared and everything and how much they've impacted, really is maybe the best part of it all, because it really shows. Yeah. So very exciting. And Pine Tree Center had their Teacher of the Year today, too. Yes, yeah. The athletic signing, there's 3 athletic signing periods per year, and the second one was held last week. There was 12 student athletes, and they're going to an array of different colleges, and it's really great to recognize them. It's always something that Chris Belgrad does a great job making sure that they're appreciated and recognized, so that was great. The Battle of the Books is maybe one of the biggest events of the middle school calendar every year. The students basically start in October, November. Like, they're given a book, and they start to study the book. They make teams, and 4 or 5 books, I'm sorry. And what they do is they learn those, and then they do a Jeopardy-style, quiz bowl kind of thing. They did it last Friday. It was great. And they're all in these teams, and so they compete against each other, and they dress up in these crazy costumes and everything like that. Ben and Heidi were there. They saw, how cool it was and everything. This is the winning team. We survived the Battle of the Books, but the best team costume went to this group called the No Brainers, and they all were dressed like zombies and everything, and they had like brains on the table. It was kind of cool. So the kids really get into it, and the media specialists, all really are enthused about it because they really spend a lot of time. And Sabrina Halsey from Orion Township Public Library also is a great partner in that. So everyone does their own thing, and all that contribution really makes a big difference to give these kids this experience that they really wouldn't have otherwise. In terms of LOHS athletics, we've had a number of outstanding opportunities really recently and successes. So like the cheer team, they won the Oxford Mardi Gras Invitational first place last weekend. That was really great. The wrestling team has had, at the regional, they had they had 6 different people place, and you see Landon Morris there. He was the OA Red Tournament champion. And then the boys ski team, they won the Pine Knob Ski League championships so that was really successful. And today they competed in the regional, and they finished 4th, but 3 of the individuals will advance to the states at an individual basis. 4th is just out of the team placing, but it was really it's been a successful season for sure. The Kids and Cops is a program that Ken Noose has done a number of years, partnering with the Lake Orion Village Police, and they really give their time, and they give a night, and they come into the building, and they play with the kids, and they interact, and it really breaks down a lot of barriers about police and the interaction, and it lets the kids know about, the police are just like them and everything, and they have these great connections. So it's really important, to do that, and I think Ken puts a lot of time into trying to make that partnership really valuable, and this is the first time it was in this building, so that was really nice. The 8th grade orientation was held the other day, and it was really an experience that all these students get to come in and they get to learn about activities and stuff. Adam was there as a parent. Do you want to just share a little bit about what the experience was like?
It was awesome. It really did a great job. I was able to enjoy it from the parent lens, which is a wonderful hat to be able to wear in Lake Orion. First-time high school parent. Took away all the fear, showcased a lot of all the opportunities that help make our high school so amazing. I was actually going to give a shout out to Dan and the high school crew, just the amount of staff that were there, the student representatives that were there, just did an awesome job, just really putting the kids at ease and showcasing what an awesome year that lies ahead for our incoming freshman class.
Absolutely. Great. And at Paint Creek, one of the annual events, and really one of the biggest annual events, is the Science Fair. And Lauren Smith, who's the principal at Paint Creek, spends a lot of time really working on that and making sure it can be involving the whole school. I know Susan's been there in the past, and it's really a great event. And they draw in the robotics teams from the middle school and the high school to show off their robots, and the students all do projects. There were 125 students who created projects, and you were able to walk through and see all their projects, and there was interactive exhibits. There was this this guy who brought all his little lizards and animals, and the kids loved that, and there were awards at the end. And it's really something Lauren puts a lot of time into, and it's really, the school community really embraces, I think, the Science Fair every year. They look forward to it. So that's really exciting. The MLK Junior Day, we have the art, and what they do for the art is, usually those are things that are, in the past, we've announced those art projects and in with whatever the theme was around Martin Luther King Jr. Day. This year, the deadline was later in January, so now those things are on display for Black History Month at the Orion Township Public Library. So you can go and see them, and each school had winners, and the DEI community really spent a lot of time trying to, get this all straight and, approve the best ones. So you can go over there and see all of that opportunity at the Orion Township Public Library, all our students. It's throughout the month here. So that's great. Susical Junior is the Scripps Middle School musical that's going to be happening, and it's going to be the next 2 nights, so you can go on the 15th and the 16th if you're interested. I went over there last week for the play. Obviously, they're, you know, as we always talk about, great interaction and enthusiasm from the students. And Elizabeth Morton, who's a teacher at Scripps, and she's got a lot of background in theater and everything, so she's really enthusiastic about it too, and really showing them a lot. This was a great program. The Oakland County is having this program called Acorn to Oak, and it's basically about student entrepreneurs and giving them opportunities and scholarships really to enhance their entrepreneurship. And they asked actually one of our students from the high school to be there as a representative at the press conference. And Eliza Veda Bruner was there, and she did a great job of representing Lake Orion. It's really, when Oakland County, you know, wanted one of our students to be a representative of this, it really was great, because it really shows that we have these students who have these great ideas and want to really show themselves and be interactive with the county, but also, you know, with their hopes and dreams and opportunities. So that was really great. And this week, the Southeast Michigan and Thumb Michigan Scholastic Awards Ceremony for Art was held downtown at the DIA. Sam Remy, we had talked about previously, was recognized with, one of our teachers was recognized with Above and Beyond Volunteer Award, but we also had students receive 41 awards for their art and architecture submissions. The art exhibit will be on display at the College for Creative Studies in Detroit from February 12th through March 1st. So we have these fabulously talented students and staff, and we really appreciate them. So does anyone have any other questions?
Excuse me, any questions from Mark? No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, tonight we have 3 presentations, and so I'll turn that over to Ben and introduce our first group.
All right, so our first group is our Pine Tree Center, and we have Hannah, Lisa, and Jamie, and a student as well. So I'll let you introduce the whole team.
So we have Logan Valek and Matthew Paulicki here with us tonight. I'm going to do a quick overview of our center programs at Pine Tree, and then I'm going to turn it over to these stars behind me. So I just wanted to talk about, we're called Pine Tree Center, right? But I just wanted to explain, what does that center mean? So our building is a program for special education students only. We're the most restrictive environment. We have no gen ed peers at our building. We serve students in the county with the most significant needs that their resident district cannot program for. So we have the supports and programs that the students need at our building. They may include academic needs, behavioral, social, emotional, communication, medical, the list goes on. Students are referred to our center program through Oakland schools. And when the referrals come through, we go out and do observations and meet with their team. We hold IEP for Pine Tree, and all of our students enroll in Lake Orion. So they are Lake Orion students when they come to Pine Tree. And our goal is that students will make enough growth to eventually return to their resident district. We have 3 students currently who are in the process of transitioning back to the resident district. And I think we've had 1 student this year who went to a less restrictive environment, so that's awesome. That's what we're hoping for always. I just put a little image there at the bottom that just shows where other center programs are located within the county. At Pine Tree, our center programs include an elementary and middle school classroom for students with emotional impairments, elementary and middle school classroom for students with autism spectrum disorder, and we currently have students attending from 15 different districts in Oakland County. And that spans from, I said the most northern to the most southern, but it's really from Novi to Huron Valley, up to Holly. We span the entire county. And unfortunately, each of our center classrooms currently has a wait list of referred students waiting for a placement in a center program. So one of our center program classrooms at Pine Tree, oh, I went forward too far, is our middle school classroom for students with autism spectrum disorder. So we have Hannah Plotkin as the teacher and Lisa Abed as the social worker, full-time in the classroom. These 2 guys are 2 students in the classroom. So we have Matthew, who is a Troy resident, and we have Logan, who is a West Bloomfield resident. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
So, hello, my name is Hannah Plotkin. Like Jamie said, I am the teacher for the middle school program. And this year, we started the Dragon's Brew Crew Coffee Cart. And it is in our middle school classroom for students with a autism spectrum disorder. And it was developed to allow students to practice a variety of skills in a fun and interactive way. Specifically, their communication skills. We have students that are verbal speakers as well as AAC users. Social skills, so those just saying hello, good morning, how are you, offering for coffee, tea, hot chocolate. Life skills, problem-solving skills, as well as money management, and they're able to navigate the entire building. So go classroom to classroom and sell coffee and tea and hot chocolate.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Abed, and I'm the social worker at, in the middle school at Pine Tree. And we really focus on students that are learning and practicing how to greet others, maintain conversation, take orders, and interact with customers. Students are learning to practice how to work with others, work with money, so they accept the money, they count the money, and make change. They even say if it's if someone hands us $2, if it's enough money for the coffee, or if it's not, and how much change they would get back. Also, they learn skills like cleanup, washing dishes, stocking the coffee cart, making coffee, etc. So this is a little video of our students utilizing the coffee cart. How do you play that? Oh.
I think the sound is working.
Well, the sound's the best part.
I know. Thank you.
Oh, this is,
Technology, right?
I know, this is really not cooperating tonight. I can't even escape out of it for a minute.
End of conversation. Bye. Thank you so much, but hold your.
Okay, we're gonna get it full screen,
Oh, boy.
and now we'll
her
start,
go.
maybe.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And then we'll grab your money, okay? What do we say when we end the conversation? Bye. Thank you so much, but hold your and get your money. Okay, how much is it? $50. I hope not. $1 and 50 cents. Okay, 1 minute. Good job, Brad. Oh, thank you. And then we'll grab your money.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's, just leave it there and pause. So I'm going to introduce you to my friend here. What do you want to say?
Hi.
Loud voice.
Hi, my name is Morgan Malik. I am a 7th grade
At?
Pine Tree Center. Well, I like the coffee cart because I like having a job
And?
working hard.
Good job.
Very good.
Hi, my name is Matthew Polecki. I am in the 8th grade at Pine Tree Center. Dragon's Brew Crew is open on Mondays and Fridays from 9:30 a.m. 11 o'clock a.m. at Pine Tree Center. We would like you all to come and support Dragon's Brew Crew. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna go grab your money, okay?
I just want to go to the next slide.
Wednesdays.
So LOCS board and board of ed and cabinet, you are all invited to come get coffee from us at the Dragon's Brew Crew.
Thank you, Mr. Logan.
So these tickets are good for one
Thank
free
you.
cup of coffee. They come to visit us.
Thank you.
Nice.
That's awesome. I know, right?
Yeah.
Right, if anyone has any questions, they can contact Lisa or Hannah at Pine Tree Center.
Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We have cookies?
Oh, yeah, there's cookies.
Did-
Yeah, they found them.
Okay, good. I was like, there are
They got
cookies.
the cookies.
Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Pine Tree and students and staff for being here. It's always a treat and can't wait to come visit you and get some coffee. So can't wait. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Right.
Thanks for having us. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, next we have the high school leadership crew. We have Connor O'Rourke, Dominic Novak, and Brady Hogan. If you guys could come forward and share some of the great work that y'all are doing or did.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brady Hogan. I'm the secretary of our leadership class.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dom Novak. I'm the CPR, Community Public Relations Officer for our leadership class.
And my name is Connor O'Rourke. I'm the vice president of our leadership class.
So the first thing that we want to talk to you guys about is our sellout recap. We haven't been here since our second quarter, but this was by far one of the biggest events we put on at the high school. We had a very successful year this year. Here are some great pictures. We have great student photographers at our school. It's such a fun day. It's really, truly such a great culture we have at Lake Orion that we get so much participation. We recently, actually yesterday, Connor and I went to Troy. We did a senior swap, and we talked to them about like the events that we put on with both of our student leadership programs. And everyone is always amazed at how we get almost everyone to participate in this great event. I think we raised a little over $5,000 for the charity, and it was just such a great day. I'm sad to be leaving next year as a senior, but I'm excited for all of the people to participate in it next year. What do you want to say?
Yeah, and then also, so I think you guys know what sellout is, but everyone gives in their phone for a day. It raises $1 for every phone that a student gives up. We had about like 2,000 students get their phones in because we gave out about 1,900 or 2,000 shirts. And it was really cool, like especially this year. My brother played football or goes to the Naval Academy, and he came in to play. He actually told his commanding officer that this event was going on, and he actually got sent home from deployment to be able to do this event. So I just wanted to say that because it was like personal. So this event is really cool, and I hope it goes on for a while.
But yeah, next year's our 10-year anniversary for sellout, so it's been going on for a while. All right, and then we're moving into our third quarter, so here's an overview. We have 12 committees for our student leadership class. Each of our 5 e-board members oversees 2 committees, and then Ms. Hogan and Ms. Redmond, our 2 advisors, also oversee 1 committee. I'm going to talk about the 4 committees today. So first we have our advertising committee. They are advertising for our charity week this quarter as their main event, and any committee can request from them like if they need a poster or something put up around the school. That is our advertising committee's job. I also oversee LO Lotto and Rita Latte Cafe. So every Friday we have a theme at Lake Orion High School, and if you participate, you get a ticket at lunch, and if your ticket can get called and you win a candy prize. It's really great. It's they line up with the football themes in the fall, and then throughout the rest of the year, our committee is able to choose what themes they want. It's a great thing we have. And then the Rita Latte Cafe is in our LC. We have a cafe that sells food and coffee, and our librarians needed a little bit of help with that this year, so we decided to put our LO Latte committee LO Lotto Committee up to the task. And then I also oversee Tea and Tiaras, which is a event for our elementary school girls. I think this year the committee hasn't officially decided what elementary schools they want to target, but I think they are going to do 2 different days for 2 elementary schools just because those spots fill up really fast and we have a lot of participation with our elementary schools, which is always great. And then I'm going to talk about Mr. and Miss LO, which we are bringing back this year for our Charity Week. It's going to be on the 13th of March during the middle of our Charity Week during our 3rd hour, and it is where participants, I think we're going to target mostly seniors based on participation. They do events and raise money for themselves, which eventually all ends up going to the charity.
So I'll be talking about, first off, I'll talk about charity volleyball. It's an event we have. It actually kicks off our charity week. It's on Sunday night. And we get about 12 to 14 teams of 6 to 8 players each. And each team pays $5 per player. And then the students are able to come, and it's in the gym, and they pay $5. And it's really, really good participation. Everyone loves to it kind of gets very competitive, and students love to see that. And myself, I played in it the past 3 years, and I love it. It brings a good student participation and a good camaraderie to Orion. Next is Dragon Day. So we had Dragon Day. We have it normally every quarter, which is we pick elementary school, and they are 5th graders. They come to the elementary school or high school for the day and kind of just get to walk around with us. We kind of keep them on the outskirts of the high school, during past time and stuff, just so no mix up or anything happens. But it's really good. They come and we teach them leadership lessons and whatnot. We play games with them. They eat lunch in our cafeteria, so it's a really good way just for them to get to the high school. Next is Dragon Family Feud. It's on Tuesday the 11th. It's during 2nd hour, so students can pay $5 to miss their 2nd hour and watch Family Feud, which missing the 2nd hour kind of gets a lot of money involved. And we had Mr. Burden last year do it. He was a principal or assistant principal that left, so we're trying to find a new Steve Harvey type guy or girl. And we are really excited to have that. I think that was our 2nd or 3rd year of doing it, and the student participation was amazing, and it again brought the students together. Next is the Unified Assembly. So myself, I'm on the Unified basketball team for the high school, and it's we have after our 1st hour, we have a student held assembly, and we have a Bloomfield Hills is coming to our school, and they're playing against us. And I mean, that's when you talk about student participation, that's the day to see it. All the students get really into it, and the Unified players have been talking about it since the season started. Every single day they talk about it. I'm we have to focus on our next game, not that game. But it really involves everyone, including the Unified players. They love it, and it's going to be good participation. They're already pumped up for it, myself as well. And I think that's my question.
The committees I will be talking about, first off, is our Dragon Plunge. So that we started 2 years ago, so this will be our 3rd year doing it. Our Dragon Plunge consists of contestants jumping off of our high dive, doing cool tricks and all that. And the students who go to watch and participate, they get to pay $5, miss their 4th hour, and watch a really funny event. All the proceeds go directly to the charity. Dom actually participated in our event a couple years ago. He had quite a graceful fall, I guess you could say, off the high dive into our pool, so it's really fun to watch. In addition to the Dragon Plunge is our Sink or Swim, which we stole from a different school. And that is teams, usually our winter sports teams, who will be making cardboard boats, and they will then try to float them across the pool. They never work. They always fail. It's tons of fun. So all that is sort of lumped into our 4th hour. So it's really nice to, skip your 4th hour and watch people make a fool of themselves. The other committee I want to talk about is the coin stalls, the blood drive, and the food raffle. This will be our 2nd blood drive of the year. That will be happening on February 27th. We had great numbers last time. We actually exceeded our expectations and had almost 80 donors, which is much more than our 70 regular, which was really nice. The next point is our coin stalls, which will be happening during our charity week. And it's really nice because all the students want to miss class. So they all bring in their spare change, give it to their first hour to stall them. They buy all the, all the sabotages you can want to make sure you don't have to do any class instruction. And then as a leadership class, we count all the coins, which takes hours upon hours to count and sort, which isn't fun, but it all goes to charity, which is the important part. And then lastly in that committee is our food raffles. So during our charity week, on every day but Wednesday during our lunches, we will have sponsors from a lot of the local fast food hotspots. So a lot of our students love the McDonald's Shamrock Shakes, so those things fly off the shelves. And during our lunches, you will bid your money on these specialty items, and all the money will be raised going directly back to the charity. The other committee is Leader Day. This is a brand new committee. The goal of our Leader Day is to take 10 different schools in the surrounding area and bring them into a conference about what their senior year should look like. So we're targeting about 5 juniors, give or take, from each school. From our school, we also are reaching out to the Bloomfield schools, Rochester, Clarkson, and Oxford, and taking all these special groups of leaders in their school, targeting the different groups inside their school, and sort of getting them all in one conference to sort of say, here's how you can make your senior year better for your own school, and then in hopes that they'll spread that to their own peers. And then lastly is our Strive for a Safe Drive campaign. The committee will receive approximately $1,000, and what they will do with that is they will self-market and advertise for themselves. The committee this year is already planning on dishing out tiny little key rings you can put on there, so all the drivers in the parking lot will get that as a little cool incentive for driving safe. In years past, we've done air fresheners and little keychains, so I like the idea this year of making it new and fresh with the overarching goal of being a safe driver, especially as we know, as high school drivers, that parking lot can get crazy, and we want to make sure that everyone who is driving safe.
And then lastly, to wrap up, I'm just going to showcase some of our awareness boards. So every other week in leadership, we have boards around the high school, and this week was our Black History Month, and here are some examples. Each committee of 4 or 5 people has to create this within 2 days, and we just sorted our committees 2 weeks ago, so some of these people don't know each other as well, so it's kind of a great team bonding idea. But we had some great examples this week, so we use the Cricut a lot in leadership, which I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a machine that we use, and it's super helpful for cutting out letters and examples. So here's another one. This was right outside the leadership room. And all of these committees had complete freedom to decide what they wanted their board to look like. We each assigned them a person, and they had complete creative freedom. And then here's another good one. All of these boards came into existence within 2 days, and 4 or 5 people created them, and they're all beautiful, and they're all up around the high school. So just wanted to showcase that. And then that is it.
Awesome, thank you. Questions? Birgit?
Hey, thanks for being here tonight. And I think I have missed the date of the unified game.
Yeah, that's on March 15th.
So that's still in Charity Week?
Yeah, it's like
Awesome.
our big ending to Charity Week.
Yeah, our charity week kicks off Sunday, March 10th with our volleyball tournament, and then continues through that Friday the 15th. And then also something we're doing this year, brand new, is on that 19th, Tuesday, March 19th, we are actually going to Bloomfield to be a part of their unified game assembly.
Awesome.
So sort of we can both see what it was like to come and travel, so that should be a really fun experience.
And that's right after our first hour, so it kind of starts around like 9 o'clock-ish, and there's like mini games like in between those, like in between the actual game. So.
Awesome. Highly encourage everyone to get to that. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah, very cool experience. Last year was my first year doing it and being a part of it, and I've never seen anything like it, so.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. What is the charity this year?
Haven't decided yet.
No,
So
TBD,
next week we have to
TBD,
decide.
okay.
Yeah, we
Well-
have candidates, 2 or 3 candidates, and we'll be choosing the final one by next Wednesday at the deadline.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Anything else for leadership? I just want to say I did have the opportunity to be at Sellout. It was It was the first year I've ever been. It was amazing. I talked about it a couple meetings ago. It was amazing. Connor, you killed it. You and Joey were, but just, yeah, like you guys said, the energy in that, I mean, just in the gym itself was insane. It was so much fun to be at. And Dom, congratulations on your commitment to Merchant Marine Academy. So good luck. Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Are you doing that? Or is that Heidi? Okay. Okay, so moving on to our last presentation this evening, I'm going to turn it over to Heidi for our elementary math recommendations.
Thank you. All right, this evening we have with us Carrie Anderson, Director of Elementary Education, and she is going to introduce her entourage here. And they are going to present the recommendation for a new elementary math program. So, thank you.
Thank you for having us this evening. I just really want to publicly say, this is just some of our pilot teachers, but all of our pilot teachers who participated in piloting 2 different math programs, we couldn't have done it or made a decision without them. So I'd just like to take a moment just to say thank you to all of them. Emily Schiff is going to start the presentation. I'm going to hand out a handout about the vision. She'll talk a little bit about that. This is Emily Schiff.
Hi, nice to meet all of you. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much for having us. I'm sure you wanted to spend your Valentine's Day with all of us, so thank you so much. So I'm really not going to read a ton of slides. I really want to get to the important part, which is the teachers talking about their students' experiences with the math program. So that's really what I want to get to. If you have any questions, please just hold them to the end. I'm happy to answer them. For myself, I've been in the district, I think it's about 10 years now. I started at Pine Tree when it was Pine Tree, so that was my building, and I've been the math specialist here for about 10 years. My counterpart, who's only been in her position a couple of years, this is Lisa Jones. She's magnificent. She helps with our DK2, and she's been instrumental in supporting the pilot. And I know Carrie thanks us and me and the teachers, but Carrie has been such a fantastic support, and Heidi through all of this. This is the first time I've done an adoption, and I want to do it right, and so we had a lot of support. We had a lot of people guiding us, and so I just need to publicly thank all of these guys as well. Because it's very scary. If you've never taught a new math program, these guys taught 2 in the first quarter of this year. So it is pretty remarkable, the moves that they've made through this. So this is a list of our pilot teachers. We had 19. We had 18 classroom teachers, and we had 1 LRC representative on our committee as well. I'm not going to go through the list. Again, if you have any questions about these, please let me know. So why did we do this? The biggest reason is the research is pervasive on the fact that we should be looking at our resource every 10 years. We don't have to change our resource every 10 years, but it is really important to have a look at it to see if it's still meeting our needs and meeting the needs of our kids. So that's one of the main reasons. But we've also noticed that over the last probably 6 to 7 years, our mathematics scores have not kept pace with our literacy scores. So we want to make sure that we're serving our kids the best we can. So we said, let's take a look. We're not going to throw everything out. We took a look at our current resource as well, which we'll speak to in a little bit. A couple of other whys. We want to make sure that our students are shouldering the cognitive load of the work that they're doing in mathematics. We have a lot of teachers working really hard to make sure that they're teaching kids how to do this, but we want kids to be able to have some of that load too, and working through and enduring some of that productive struggle, which they don't always love to do, but they're really capable of and can do. So are we also working through ideas with our fellow mathematicians? We want kids to be able to collaborate, agree, disagree respectfully, and our teachers are going to speak to a lot of that in a little while. And the last is, are students understanding the mathematics, or are they simply mimicking their teacher doing the mathematics? That's a big one too. I remember being an 11th grader, my teachers yelling at me and just saying, just do what I do, just copy me. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're doing. So it's really important that our kids are actually able to think through the math as opposed to just being drugged through the math. So now I'm going to pass it over to wonderful Lisa Jones, who's going to introduce herself and talk a little bit about how mathematical learning progression should go. And I'll let Lisa take it away.
Hello. Hello. Research shows there is a progression to learning mathematics. Students need to build math with concrete objects. They need to then well, they could use base 10 blocks, they could use fraction tiles, algebra tiles. That leads to drawing or representing mathematics. This is key to mental math. This forms visuals inside their metacognition. We finally reach abstract math, which we're all familiar with. That's equations with standard numbers. So CRA supports all learners. It also supports long-term memory. And we want our students to do mathematics. We want them to apply mathematics.
All right, so I'm not going to go through each of these either. I just wanted you to realize when we started this work, we ground our work in all of these different documents. These are documents we went through with our pilot teachers. They are from the Common Core State Standards Committee. They are from the National Councils of Teachers for Mathematics. They're from the Michigan Department of Education. So we didn't just take one resource. We looked at all of these resources and talked about what are the most productive mathematical practices we can come up with, and those are the types of programs we want to look at. So this was grounding our work. I'm going to say this. So this is my home office. My husband will probably kill me for showing pictures, but this is what it looked like all summer, and he wasn't super happy about it because it was giant Post-it notes all over the place. Now, what we did here was when we brought all of our pilot teachers together, we asked them questions like, what was your rock star moment as a math teacher? What were students doing? What was the teacher doing? How did it sound? How did it feel? What did it look like in your classroom? And so we started visioning all of those things, all of those Post-its. So we developed a shared vision through all of that work and through the work in those documents. And so over the summer, I got to take all of those Post-its and start to organize them in somewhat of a coherent way to be able to develop our vision. So teachers helped develop this. We all came together and talked about it, and then we made sure that we developed it in coherence with all of the documents that we looked at, and so that's what you have a copy of right now. The reason it was so important to develop is because when we come back to that resource, we need to say which of these resources best meets our vision for mathematics in Lake Orion. We're not going to say, I like this one better, you like this one better. That's really not the conversation we want to have. We want to have the conversation of, is this best serving what we want mathematics to look like, sound like, and feel like in Lake Orion? So that's why it was really important to make sure that we develop that. So this is our vision. I'm going to read it. This is the only slide I promise I'm going to read. But in Lake Orion Community Schools, we strive to build mathematically proficient students prepared to meet the demands beyond K-12 schooling. And by engaging in rigorous mathematics and collaborative, creative, and fun learning environments, students will be able to confidently apply mathematics in the real world. There are a lot of other tenets that went with the vision, but I wanted to make sure that we saw that one together. We worked in tandem with the ISD to think and look about other programs that other school districts are enacting around the district. We looked at districts with similar socioeconomic distributions. We looked at districts with similar demographics. We looked at high-achieving districts and what kinds of trends they're seeing in their mathematics programs. So we actually saw down at the bottom, it said the trends with higher-performing districts, they are using a more concrete, hands-on, and engaging programming that's based in number sense. And that's where we see a lot of our kids starting to stumble. When we get to those big numbers, we're starting to see some of that number sense kind of tumble. So 4th and 5th grade is where we're seeing a lot of that fall apart, and we know we can do better. All right, so with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Lisa.
So based on that criteria, there were 2 programs that rose above them all, and we chose those to pilot. Everyday Mathematics through the University of Chicago, and Bridges in Mathematics through the Math Learning Center, which is a nonprofit organization. We also took a look at Math Expressions, which is our current math program. We wanted to see if that aligned with what our vision was. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Okay, so after completing the 2 pilots, we brought the teachers back together. We revisited our vision. We looked at each program through the lens of our vision statement. We gathered evidence, and we measured each program with data-based evidence.
They didn't just do that at the end. They're not giving themselves credit. bi-weekly, maybe bi-weekly, they had meetings on Zoom so that all teachers can make it and didn't have to rush just to get feedback. How's it going? How can we support you? So they're not giving themselves credit.
It was quite an undertaking in 20 weeks.
Thank you, Carrie. We appreciate the kudos. Yes, it was, I mean, I want to mention that they did the vast majority of the hard work, which was enacting it in their classrooms. But we tried to be as responsive as possible and say, okay, we're meeting 2 weeks in. What are the issues? What are you having trouble with? What's going well? What's not going well? What would you change? What's going on? So we would have those as little check-ins because we wanted to make sure we were being as responsive as possible. So thank you for adding that. Okay, so the destination in which we ended up, we had curriculum review materials scoring rubrics, and they had to find evidence from the teacher's edition of how it supported our vision and then score them in those rubrics. So it was very clear to us. I didn't have to make a decision. I didn't have to make a decision. Carrie didn't have to make a decision. Nobody had to because it was rated so highly by all of our teachers. So they took these scoring rubrics and every lens they looked at, we labeled it high, acceptable, or low. So Bridges was the clear winner when we ended up with high, 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 and the vast majority of our teachers scored Bridges ahead of everyday math and math expressions. So it was very clear to us there was no decision that needed to be made. The decision was done with the evidence in those rubrics and how it aligned to our vision. So the final thing I'm going to talk about before I hand it over to our amazing teachers, there are 4 key elements of Bridges 3rd edition. So we're getting the most new version of this. They couldn't even give us student books because they had not finished them yet. So we are getting the most updated version. So 3rd edition has problems and investigations, number corner, workplaces, and math tasks, which are also called concept quests. So each of these components, the teachers are going to talk about through the lens of what they saw students doing in the classroom. So let me invite Jennifer Vilwalk from Paint Creek, and she's also going to introduce herself. Sorry, I stole your thunder.
You're good.
Good,
Emily.
Just move that. Move that.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Jen Vilwalk. I teach kindergarten at Paint Creek Elementary. And this was a joy to be a part of. I think it is I should also mention, I am a Dragon graduate, so to be able to work for Lake Orion and kind of have a part of this huge decision was definitely a blessing. So I do want to show just some of the things that Bridges provides for the classroom. So this is a picture of my kindergarten students. They are participating in a aspect of Bridges, which is called Number Corner. So with our problems and investigations, the children really get to think, pair, and share with their peers. They're able to question, what is happening here? They get to talk collaboratively with their peers and just really, truly kind of dig into some of their learning. While it's guided by me, they are the ones communicating with each other and kind of doing that growth learning together. So I put an example up of the bicycle. This was something from, right when we transitioned into this pilot for the Bridges curriculum, this was one of the first lessons. And I'm, trying to kind of make my way through it all, and I'm looking at this bike like, where are we going here, right? Like, what's the purpose? So the purpose of this lesson was to show students pairs of doubles within 10. I had never taught that before. I didn't know that that is something that my students would necessarily be capable of, but it was so wonderful to watch them kind of just figure that out on their own. They had manipulative materials that they used to put little pieces on the bike, and all of a sudden they were having these great conversations of, well, did you know that 8 is also 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 to make 8 and not 4 plus 4? And it's just, that light bulb moment that you love seeing as a teacher truly happened. So they, obviously are enjoying it, and I think it was just something great to be able to experience and kind of bring back to this pilot community.
All right. Yeah, I don't remember. I think it's me. It's Lauren. She doesn't want to come up here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Miller. I'm a first grade teacher at Weber Elementary, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Number Corner. So in all of these pictures, you'll see Number Corner in my first grade classroom. Number Corner consists of short, daily, what are called workouts or routines that can introduce new concepts, and they also give students the opportunity to practice concepts that have been previously taught. This takes between 15 and 20 minutes per day, every single single day, and the kids are pumped about it. So in the pictures, you'll see one of the routines is the calendar grid. Students are working with patterns and predictions, recognizing different shapes right now in February. You'll see computational fluency games, the calendar collector, and the days in school, which is one of my favorite activities to do. With all of these activities, what you can't see in the pictures is the talk. The discussion that's going on in my classroom is nothing I have ever seen before. I have students who are sharing their problem solving. They're critiquing each other respectfully. They're taking the critiques and they're changing their work. They're really collaborating with each other and teaching each other. Truly, I'm hands off, I'm back. I give a question here and there, but they're talking to each other. They're engaging with each other. One of my favorite things about Number Corner is that all students can participate at their level, specifically with the days in school. Like I said, one of my favorites. You'll see here 3 students all sharing different equations that equal that day in school. What you'll also see in the corner is one of my students critiquing another one, and her taking it, she goes back and she changes her work. All 3 of them discuss how they got their answer. I have some who are saying things like 45 plus 54 equals 99. I have some who are saying 94 plus 5. They're coming from all aspects of where they have been learning. And what's really exciting for me is that some of my most reluctant learners, they're the ones leading the discussion. They're the ones who are taking the criticism and are still excited about it. They're still jazzed about their math learning. So really, I think Number Corner just shows and reinforces kind of what Jen was saying, that the teacher is a facilitator, but the students are the leaders and the students are the teachers.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Slusher. I teach kindergarten at Stadium, and we're just really grateful and excited to be here tonight and for the opportunity to share this hard work that the kids have been doing. So workplaces is one of my favorite times and components of Bridges because it really embeds a choice-based workshop model into the lessons. So it allows the kids to work with a math partner daily. They're going around, they're engaging with the math concepts that have been taught during Number Corner, reinforced during the problems and investigations, the whole group parts, and then they're able to practice those skills through games with a partner. So this is, there's so many wonderful components of it, but the choice-based part for my kindergarten students really increases their intrinsic motivation. They're able to work with their partner. They use a checklist to make sure that they're not just going to their favorite game every day, but they're, engaging with all of the games. And it's really great to see that interaction between the partners of, oh, nope, we can't go to that one. Remember, we haven't done, the one at Yellow Table yet. And so they're kind of checking each other and taking ownership of that. Of course, since they're working with a partner, it's fostering collaboration, teamwork, problem solving, the cooperative learning skills that we're working so hard in kindergarten through play, and they're able to link that to an academic time as well. They're feeling more confident because they're able to double check themselves and double check their partner. If they make a mistake, their partner can, show them, oh, wait, double check that counting. That wasn't 6. And so it's really fun to see. The workplaces, like I said, it takes the manipulatives that are used during the workplaces always come first in Number Corner, so the kids are seeing that manipulative being used and worked with for usually like a whole month before it becomes a manipulative that they can use during one of the games. And so it's just such a fluid program. Everything is really well thought out, and it just comes together so nicely. Finally, the workplaces offer, you need repetition to be able to eventually build that fluency, and the games allow the kids to engage in that without feeling bored, without getting tired of it. And a lot of times they don't even realize that they're doing this hard work and this hard thinking. So we're really excited that Bridges includes workplaces. So I'm Danielle Carroll. I teach fourth grade at Orion Elementary, and like Jen, I also am a Dragon graduate, went all the way through, so it's exciting to be back. No,
That was me, also a Dragon graduate, worked with,
Not me.
working with Jen.
There's a lot of us, it's fine. We don't go very far. So with mine is, I'm talking about the math tasks and the concept quests, and instead of talking more about what the program offers, I just kind of want to talk a little bit more about experience in my classroom, what I'm seeing, exact examples. So like you have heard already how manipulatives are very important in math and how it helps build their long-term, and how we're seeing our program right now has some holes, I guess you could say, of what we're noticing with our kids coming up. So being a fourth grade teacher, they are pretty far along in their elementary career, and I am starting to see the past few years, I've had to supplement a lot to get the students where they're supposed to be. So we are seeing kind of those gaps in their learning, or just the places where they're learning it, but it's not sticking with them. So one place I really appreciate how Bridges taught it would be for multiplication. So in fourth grade, we have to multiply 2 by 2 digit numbers, and that's a big task for them, and it's really hard for them because we don't just teach the standard algorithm anymore. And so we teach it with area model. So how Bridges kind of pushed them through area model is we started by just playing with numbers with arrays. So it would be, okay, if I have like 2 by 6, and we would build it, and then, oh, how can I break this up? And then we would just break it up into smaller chunks. And then, oh, like how would you find the area of this small chunk that you did, and this small chunk, and then how could we find it all together? So it started kind of just playing with the manipulatives and them talking in that way. And then it went to paper with grid paper, and then they had to start drawing it out and breaking it up, but they still saw those base 10 blocks on the grid paper. And then it took them to taking just lines, so the lines on the side, but it took the grid out. So now the grid is away. They're supposed to still be able to picture the base 10 blocks being there to understand the area of the object. And from there, it took it completely away, where they have to blank, they create it on their own. And so these pictures are just my students. Some people are still using the dots for the grids. Some of them are able to take it away and go completely blank, but just how Bridges has guided them through, they have understood it better than my students have in the past few years. Normally I have to supplement in this unit. It takes us a long time to understand. So the use of manipulatives is huge. How it kind of gradually releases them is also really important. It builds conceptual understanding, which in fourth grade I appreciate, and is something that they're really lacking and need. And the tasks require them to use multiple different skills. So one question might ask them to use multiple representations, explain their thinking, match it with an equation, which is huge. So Bridges just really walks through all of the areas of math that we really would like our kids to be able to do, and the areas that we kind of thought were lacking, it kind of fills all of those gaps.
Last teacher, not the least.
Hi. Hi, I'm Jessica LeGros. I'm a fourth grade teacher at Carpenter Elementary. I've been teaching long enough that I was in the district when we had our pilot originally for the program we're currently using, and that Lauren is one of my former students. So that's really been fun to get to know her as an adult. So what I want to talk about is just how this program has really allowed kids to do mathematics and get better at mathematics through doing it. Again, working with the other program for almost 20 years, our math, how we teach math has really changed over the years. And so like Danielle was just saying, we've had to supplement a lot with what we were doing because we just have better practices now. And so what I appreciate so much about Bridges is those better practices are already embedded. It's a rigorous program, but at the same time, accessible to all of our students. So for instance, yesterday we're working on writing equations for multi-step problems. So they were working on a problem that had both multiplication and division as the 2 steps yesterday. I have some kids that were using repeated addition to do the multiplication. I had some that were using area models. I had some that were using a number line to jump across. So what I really, really appreciate is that there are multiple strategies all getting to the exact same place. But because there are so many different strategies, all of our kids have access to it. So whether, no matter where, if they're in the concrete part of understanding mathematics if they can draw visual models to understand mathematics or if they're at the abstract place. I do have to say, too, as a fourth grade teacher, when you look at the curriculum map that Bridges offers, one of the things that we've always struggled with is that we still had a lot of geometry and fractions left in the curriculum map to teach before they had M-STEP. And so we really felt like our students were at a disadvantage on that test because it's not their fault that they haven't been taught that yet. The way Bridges is set up is our last unit of the year is actually an extension. And very project-based. So they, through Number Corner and the units, have accessed all of the skills that they need before M-STEP. So I really feel like our test scores are, it's going to be a big difference using a program that is set up to match our testing window as well. And now I'm going to turn it over to Carrie.
So cost, I believe Julie included the PO in the board book, right? Yeah. So the cost is heavy up front. It's $336,000 for year one. That also includes an intervention program for each school and teacher materials, student materials for year one. The best thing about this is year two, the cost will go significantly down to, we're estimating between 20 and 25,000, but we think it will probably even be less. The student materials are just like a workbook, but we have access to print whatever we want. So kindergarten may not want a workbook, that might not be appropriate. So we don't, we purchased it for everybody this year, for next year, if you approve this, we will purchase it, and then we will figure out how much the teachers will use it. And if they aren't going to use the workbooks, then that cost would be less than $20,000, and that would be going forward. Currently, we spend about $70-some thousand a year on consumable workbooks. So while it's heavier cost up front for the teacher part, if we were bringing you an everyday math cost, it was probably like $750,000 over 6 years. So a little bit heavy up front, but overall it will be cheaper for the district down the road. But that really wasn't what we were looking at. It was not let's pick the cheapest program. We were looking at all of the reasons the teachers said, and we want students to do the math. Then we wanted to share with you, what do our smallest and most important stakeholders think of Bridges? Let's see.
This is the best. Hopefully the sound works.
I know.
Hi, Reggie. How did you feel about the Bridges program?
I liked it.
Why'd you like it?
I mean, the math games were kind of fun, and some of the, I don't know what to call them, like little things where you had like a couple questions that were kind of related to each other. That was fun.
How do you like it compared to like last year's math program?
Definitely better.
2 + 4 = 6.
And
so and it doesn't include the entire equation. And then 6 + 9 does equal 15. So that's the true part.
Correct. Hi, Natalie. How did you feel about Bridges program?
I thought that it was really fun and that it was really cool that even though the people who hated math would just love it when we did it. And the games were really, really fun because the whole class would just get together. We would go, the class would go against the teacher or the teacher would go against us, and we would just have a bunch of fun.
How can that help me with 9 times 4, Joey?
Like the double to double, like it says, like, for example, 6 times 2 is 12, and then 6 times 4 = 12 + 12.
I like Bridges because they let you have partners in it, and I think that's helped me with math a lot more.
Hi, Amelia. Can you tell me what you think about Bridges math and Number Corner?
I think it actually is better than math expressions because sometimes last year when we were doing stuff on
in our math expressions books, we would do a bunch of the same stuff over and over, like maybe 20 times, and that just got a little boring. And here, we do it like 1 or 2 or 3 times, and we know it snip snap. So it's easier, funner, and faster. One over 6.
And why is it 1 6?
Because a hexagon, when you divide it into triangles, it has 6 triangles and one fun.
I like learning the division because it teaches you in a fun way.
Madison, what was something that you shared with your partner?
That the equations both came from the graph because there's 4 dots.
Here, math was really hard for me, and I just kept saying very bad things about math, and like I never thought I would ever get good at math. But when I saw Bridges, my confidence boosted, and now I'm really good at math.
Turn and talk to your partner to share how you're thinking about this.
This is kindergarten.
Lesson 7.
Go. Math makes your brain grow stronger.
And I've seen that video like 9 times, and I've cried every single time. So I hope that we're as moved as we were, because I will tell you, and you probably have had this experience as well, because I was that person too. I always felt dumb in math class. I never thought I had any capabilities, and that's what I share with students almost every single day. And that's what we fight against. It's a little bit different with a lot of that negative connotation surrounding mathematics and as a subject area, so that is what we're battling against too. So it kind of makes my heart happy to see the kids feeling like they are capable of this, because they are.
And what was nice is I only asked the question, what did you think? And the answers just blew me away. No part of that. It was all them.
Questions for any of us?
Questions? Heather, go ahead.
So what I kept hearing was collaboration with the students. So is it fair to say that is the most significant thing that stood out in relation to math expressions or the other programs? Okay. And why do you feel like that is so important and crucial to have?
Go ahead.
So kindergarten, I think a big thing, if we're looking at the elementary years as the foundation for their educational experience, we want our students to be comfortable with being told they're wrong, right? But not only that, we want the other student who's telling them you're wrong because to be able to explain and justify. So I think one thing that Bridges kind of opened up that avenue for was that dialogue, that comfortable dialogue of, wait a minute, similar to that bicycle example that I showed, 4 + 4 does equal 8, but so does 2 + 2 + 2 + 2. So being able to kind of see it from that other lens. So I think what maybe was lacking in previous years was just that communicative piece of, let's learn how to disagree, and then let me show you my other way of thinking. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Heather. Birgit, did you have a question?
I did, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight, ladies. It is really nice to hear from you on a personal level and all the work that you've done. And so I'm curious to hear from you, since you are now experts on this level. Was it more difficult for you to teach? I heard at one point there was some hands-off for you, but I'm thinking as you approached a different system, and I'm getting the impression that maybe Bridges wasn't the easiest you could have selected. Yeah. So tell us about that.
I think we could all go up there.
So it is definitely a shift, I think, in pedagogy and just, I think the important piece is going back to the vision and making sure that we're choosing a program that wasn't necessarily easiest for teachers, where they could just pick up the manual and teach a lesson and call it good. Yep, we did math. Like we really want the students engaged. We want them thinking. We want them working together and building, like Jen said, that foundation and that foundational number sense. I mean, it's crucial to math learning beyond elementary years. And so, although it may not be the easiest, I really feel strongly that it's the best and most rigorous. It puts the kids first, and it allows them to to really feel and be successful, not just memorize how to do something.
I also wanted to speak briefly about, because Carrie and I and Lisa have talked a lot about the implementation of this, and for this to be implemented properly, we need to give the teachers planning time. So planning times at grade levels to read through these lessons, to go through their boxes, to look at the manipulatives, to organize everything. So we've committed to almost all of our professional development time next year that is going to be in mathematics is going to be planning driven, with teachers in the same grade level, in the same room. So we are going to provide a lot of what they need because it is brand new. When I came here, I had been a teacher for almost 15 years in some pretty tough situations. And I came here and I had to learn 6 brand new programs, right, in 1 year. I was terrible at 4 of them, I was okay at 2 of them, and I knew that the next year I would get better at the next one. But we have to give the teachers the planning time in order to be able to work through this because it is a shift in pedagogy. The other thing I wanted to mention about collaboration, one of the reasons it's so important for kids to talk is because that's how it becomes long-term memory. If they hear it from the teacher, if they then talk about it with a neighbor, if they then hear it again, and then they hear it again from the teacher and they talk to another child about it, that is now embedded in there, whether they like it or not. So those conversations are necessary to actually becoming a little bit more proficient. And the last little piece that I wanted to add too, just about the language and kids and collaboration. Many times I've been doing this a long time, almost 25 years. I can pretty much tell you exactly how I would teach any standard in my classroom if I was to tell you that right now, I could tell you. Not every child learns the way that Mrs. Schiff teaches it. So language from another student could open a window or a door that I can't open because I'm an adult who's been teaching the same content for 20 years. So think about it that way too. We're getting different voices, we're getting different language, different words, different experiences, and all that makes us richer. So I just wanted to make sure that I spoke to that. Are there any other questions?
It was beautiful because I was going to piggyback on the professional development right onto that, and you led to that perfect segue. And the only other question I have to add to that, Emily, is are our LSS going to be included in that training so that it's a broad spectrum application?
And the answer to that is yes. Yes. Of course, we want them to be part of it, but when we're looking at all of this, we evaluate all of our programming too, so to see what's the data showing us. Partially, part of me is, should kids be pulled out for intervention when they're going through a math program for the first time? I don't know. We're still talking and having discussions about that. Not that we don't need the interventionist necessarily, but we have some discussions to make. So, but if we are having math interventionists throughout this, yes, they will get the training. Like I said, we bought the intervention program, but that will also support our students in special ed in every building as well, so.
And when your intervention program is aligned with your tier
Yes.
1 instruction, it's extremely powerful and extremely rare. It doesn't happen very often.
Right.
And the other thing I just wanted to add too is that every single coach that we have in our district, regardless of the content area, we want them all to be aware of how this program is enacted, so they're going to get the trainings too. We're going to include administrators, we're going to include support staff, we have our LRC teachers, so absolutely. And they're going to be involved in the planning too, and I think that's really important.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Jake, I believe you had some questions.
Yeah, a question was about the day itself, because what we were told is Bridges requires more time than the previous. So what were your experiences with having to reorganize your days around needing more time for math?
Anybody?
Well, this year, kind of tough, only because our minutes are not adjusted yet. So at the beginning of the year, we get minutes that from the district that we are required to meet for each subject area, and we kind of have to make it work. So this year, without the minutes being adjusted, it was a little harder to move things around. However, we made it work, and we were able to do that without the minutes being adjusted. Next year, there is talk of moving some things, combining some things, doing a few things differently and better practices, and cutting off some minutes in other areas. Not because we're eliminating subject content, because we're combining some things, and that would allow more time for this program. So I know a lot of the coaches have already been talking about that. They know that more time is going to be needed for math if we choose this program, if it goes forward, and a lot of the coaches are willing and happy to adjust some things for us, and so that way it would be way easier. The number corner piece can be done as like a morning meeting calendar, which a lot of classrooms are already doing. So we're already doing calendar calendar. Lower L's already doing calendar. I do morning meeting in 4th grade. The number corner would just slip in and be that. So right now hard, but hopefully next year not as bad.
But that's a really important question because it does, and we've talked many times about this. So we have our ELA person is more than happy to give us some minutes, and we've talked about we're going back and forth. But our teachers have really done a great job. They've converted some word study to morning work. They've converted their morning meetings. They've integrated 2 different things like Danielle mentioned. So they've been very creative. But I think part of that, when you see the importance and you see the conversations your students are having, you're like, this is way too important to rush through, or this is way too important to cut today.
When you teach them those conversations, which they do in writing and reading workshop, in science currently, they do a lot of the discussion-based things, it just makes it easier. We've already started working on what the minutes will look like. This is not like 80 minutes, here you go, like you have to do it all at one time. This is probably broken up into chunks throughout the day, so so it's more manageable. But we are already on that and working it, because if it didn't matter what program we chose, we would have to adjust.
And they are going to take longer at the beginning. When you're teaching a brand new program, it is a little bit harder to wrap your brain around. Sometimes you've got to have that sheet right in front of you and you're reading from it because you don't know it yet, and that's okay. And we're going to support them the best we can with planning time, with our coaches being able to be wherever you guys are, whatever you guys need. So we know it's going to be an undertaking, but I've been here too long and we have worked too hard and we have done so much great work in this district. We are going to do this right. So please know that that is our pledge to you guys. And this has kept me up at night in the past 6 months because I want to do it right, because it makes me feel like it breaks my heart when I see kids who say, that they don't like math and they're terrible at math. This is what we want to do for kids because we really feel strongly that it is the best decision for kids.
Thanks. Excellent. Any other questions? Susan?
Well, thank you. Sorry about all your sleepless nights, but thank you. It's really evident. You guys put a lot of hard work into this, and the commitment really is to the children. And I know you know that, not to us, but to the kids. And I can tell that you guys really put them first for this. So thank you for all your effort. Just a quick question. The Bridges edition you guys piloted was edition 3, is that right? Did I understand there's a new edition coming?
No, that was it.
That was it,
just
okay.
like we had no workbooks because they literally hadn't made a workbook.
Okay, so this is the latest one, and you guys were able to pilot that.
Yes.
Okay, great.
They were creating one of the units
As we were working
Oh,
through
wow.
it. So you're gonna
Hot
get
off the
units
press.
5, 6, and 7 in a month, and I'm like, okay, I hope it gets here.
And we got them.
And then also, in your evaluation of the other districts, was any of the other districts utilizing Bridges as well? And were you able to do any
surrounding
peer-to-peer discussions with districts that have used it longer?
How many in Oakland County? I would probably say it's about 16, but you can't quote me on
Yeah.
that because I don't have a full list.
Have moved to Bridges.
But Rochester implemented Bridges last year. We have West Bloomfield who's using Bridges. We have Troy that's just adopted Bridges. Clarkston's been using it for years. And Troy is actually one of the places where we're planning on going to make lots of visits. We want to see these classrooms. We especially want to see new Bridges classrooms and see some of those possible hiccups. And I also want to say to those instructional coaches, hey, what didn't go well so I can fix it for when we implement? Or what did you do? What did you wish you'd done instead? Because we need to have those conversations to sort of help make those bumps, those speed bumps, just a little bit less bumpy. But we know there's going to be challenges. There always is when implementing new work. But we're very, very excited, and these teachers have started to, talk about how much their kids are growing, and that is sort of starting to spread around as well.
We're planning to start the professional learning this year in April.
Yep.
So teachers can have their resources before they go
Leave
for the summer, because a lot of teachers want them. We would say, no, just enjoy your summer, but a lot of teachers want to have them. So our plan is to start April 26th at our next district-wide PD day, to start giving some professional learning to the elementary staff, should this go through.
Awesome.
Great.
Any other, Heather?
Just one last one. Thank you so much. So can just feel the passion coming from you guys. Did I hear that there was data collected and throughout the course of this, like firm
It
data?
was narrative data,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Keep
Narrative,
that in
okay.
mind. Yeah, so I have shards and like tons. I kept every single piece of notepaper I ever put down. Some of it's a little hard to read because I was writing pretty fast during some of those meetings. But the rubrics, all of the things we collected when we were going through this, all the narrative data from the teachers, I have it all. So at any point, if any of you need it, we'd be happy to share that.
But we have had teachers say that they feel that their students have performed better on math common assessments this year as well. So, but we're not, the
Which we're
pilot
not
teachers, we're not
aligned
looking
at
at
all.
like, which we're not aligned. And we've told the pilot teachers, we're not looking at your data. That's not, you just teach the two programs and then don't worry, we're not looking at the district, say, oh, your kids went down or went up. But a lot of the data did show the kids went up.
Okay, so that data does exist. And then from the other districts, do they have data on how that's like shifted and moved for them when they started using the program? Like, do we have some hard data on that?
I wish I did, because Oakland County has stopped sharing, and I'm sure the leadership can attest to this as well. They used to, right? No?
Yes.
Okay. So they used to provide us with this lovely bar graph of how every district did in Oakland County, and we could tell where we were ranked, we could tell in reading and math. They do not share that with us anymore, so the only data that we have from other districts is me having conversations with their instructional coaches and asking what their common assessment data is looking like. However, because MSTEP is too large grain to really dig down and see how our standards did or how our kids did on standards.
Right.
So I wish I had all of that, because it would be great. I do have the control groups and the Bridges white papers that told us that just 1 year of instruction in 4th and 5th grade, the 4th graders rose 8%, and it was the first year of implementation, and it was only 1 year. And then the 5th grade was actually 9%. So their scores increased almost 10% over 1 year of Bridges, and that was their white paper. So I just wanted to share that with you guys as well, because I wish I had that data.
I'm just
I
curious,
keep
yeah.
telling
'cause
Oakland
it-
County, I wish I had that data.
Okay.
So thank you.
Yeah,
I
sure
feel
thing.
I now get some ammunition.
Thank you.
It's funny. Anything else? Okay, well, ladies, thank you so much. We actually, in our last curriculum committee meeting, Heidi and Carrie, shared this, so we are very excited to hear from you. And it's always great to have teachers here, because one of the things that both Heidi and Carrie shared was the teachers that are piloting it, they want to keep teaching it throughout the rest of the year. They don't want to go back. This is the program. So we really appreciate all of your hard work on this, and I know it's going to be, a pretty big effort and shift to implement it, but I think it's, overall going to benefit, all of our kids. So thank you so much for being here, and just as a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're not approving it tonight, so this was just
And
kind
our
of.
contact information is on the slide right there. If you have any specific questions for myself or Lisa,
Yeah.
you know how to get in touch with Carrie.
Yes.
But we're happy to share any of that with you guys, and thank you so much for your time tonight.
Yeah,
We appreciate
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have cookies. There's cookies, guys. Always take cookies. Okay. Okay, so with that, that moves us on to public participation related to action items on the agenda, and there is none. So we're going to move right on to strategic area discussion items with Ben.
Okay, thank you. I'll start out, what I have this evening is the legislative update. Really, the big news is the governor's budget proposals that have been out there, the key parts to know about it, and we've been passing on some of the details through links and updates, but $241 per pupil funding increase is what she's proposing. That equates to about 2.5% increase in the foundation allowance, so that's terrific. Last year's reminder, we got an increase of about 5%, but still a 2.5% increase is very encouraging. One of the other things that she's talking about is the pre-K for all, preschool for all, and that's something that many can't argue about. But how does that work? How is that funded? Those are the points that many of us wonder about. Is the whole implementation, where we put children and all of those things. So we continue to work on that as a county to try to understand. There's a roadmap that was been put out, so we've been able to look at that and try to understand the steps. So, but the funding is the big piece to keep in mind. One of the other things that's in her proposed budget is 31AA money, and that is the mental health and student safety money. So that'd be very important to continue that. There was a large sum that was included in that at $300 million. And then also funding special education at 100%, which will be, again, a great continuation if they do that. So there's a number of pieces that are in the budget proposal, but like I said, we passed on, some documents if you want some further details. Many of the laws that took effect yesterday, February 13th, there were some changes and all of that. We've been talking about that as, the year has come to a close and then started back up with a new legislative session. But those laws went into place yesterday. There's a few Senate bills, or a Senate Bill 518. I just wanted to bring to your attention that is a bill that would allow current educators to teach special education. And so obviously that would help because we obviously struggle as everybody across the state does to fill the special education classrooms. And in that bill, it's those that are already certified can teach special education. So that definitely would help. They're also in the Senate Education Committee, they're working to create a framework and assessment system to identify characteristics for dyslexia in students. That is legislation that just kind of keeps coming up, dropping off, coming up, dropping off. A lot of times the struggle with it is the prescription on it, that they're very defined as to who, what programs to use and all of that. And that's really where the pushback is from schools. And then also Senate Bill 568 modifies some training requirements for literacy coaches in schools. And again, that's something that's early in the process, so we'll continue to watch that. There's been a number of bills that are sitting in the House and the Senate without action. As we've talked about, they're kind of in a situation where they're not really getting a lot of work done, but there's still some things that have carried over from the last session. We'll see how those things come along. But we did send on a presentation today, thanks to Birgit. I would encourage you to, take a look at that. And again, there's some links embedded in that can provide some further details on the budget. So,
awesome.
Any questions for me?
Any questions? Yes, Heather.
I have two. First, what would you say is the biggest barrier in regards to the pre-K being implemented? Like, what do you see as the biggest barrier for us if we were to have to take that on?
Sure. So the biggest barrier for us is space. So, we've talked about our elementary capacities. And basically we have one classroom that's available right now across the district. Our early childhood programming is full. And we don't have any additional classroom spaces. So, and then the other piece would be funding. How does that get paid? Right now, our preschool teachers make less than the kindergarten teacher, or so that's another item is the whole compensation. There's talk of $25,000 per classroom. Well, $25,000 per classroom would help with materials, but it doesn't help with staffing. It doesn't help with walls and ceilings and all the, necessary pieces. They're also, and you asked for two, I just gave two, but the other thing to know about that is that this is pre-K for all. 70% roughly is for public schools, and 30% is private entities to run preschools. So there's just a lot of questions, like where's that money going to come from? They're doing the infrastructure study. All of those pieces are important, when they're looking at all the school districts and the buildings we have. Is the money coming from there? Probably not. So it's a big concept with not a lot of financial backing for the long term that we recognize.
So for a full understanding, is there a chance this gets implemented and we don't receive the funding that we need to implement it? Like, is it will be required of us to provide the universal pre-K, but that we would have to foot the bill to make it happen? Is that?
I guess, that would be that would be the concept, yeah. So, so we're being, and it's been accelerated, and that's basically what she's saying through her executive budget, is to get this in place sooner. There was a longer window when it was initially rolled out, and now she's saying let's do it sooner. So when you get a chance to take a look at the budget proposal that was in the update that we just sent out, in it talks about where some of those, I believe it was that proposal, I've looked at a number of different details on on that, but it talks about where some of these different funding pots moving around and stealing and, robbing Peter to pay Paul type of thing. But again, just keep in mind, this is the start of budget season, and it's not, we have to implement, well, this is what's going to happen for sure. So the Senate and the House will come up with their own, and this is just a starting point, but oftentimes the foundation allowance, the per pupil funding is usually pretty darn close.
I see. Okay. Thank you for that.
Jake, do you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question and a comment. The question's about the using classroom teachers as special ed teachers, and sounds good on the face, we get to fill those openings, but I look across the state and I say, but does that somehow devalue the people who do that additional training to become special ed teachers? That, oh, anybody can do that job. That's always a concern I have. Whenever they're lowering the standards, we'll just, because there's a lot of training that goes into being a special ed teacher. So is there a concern about that negative repercussion?
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. Sometimes when, as these bills go through the processes, there's tweaks that are made, and a lot of times there's sunsets. For 3 years, we will allow this, or you have 3 years to get that certification or endorsement. So those are typically the types of things that happen, and it's good to kind of go down that road and figure out how can we do this in the short term, but again, oftentimes they do sunset them, and they also give them a time to get that certification endorsement like you're talking about. So no, I don't think it devalues.
So you're moving toward,
Yes.
it's not just you're there, but
making
as long as
progress.
you're moving towards it,
Yes.
we'll let it start a little earlier.
Yes, that's
So
typically how
that's
those work,
That's a
yes.
good way to go.
Yep.
And the other was a comment. I'm a numbers guy. This is yet another budget where the proposed increase does not equal the rate of inflation. 5%, great last year, wasn't equal, it was below the rate of inflation. 2.5%, it's below the rate of inflation. So I'm not personally propping anything up to say that's where I say the profession of education is under attack, and it's just consistently not valued at a level that it should be. And 2.5% doesn't value what we're trying to accomplish as a district and all the people that are part of that endeavor. They have to do better. They have,
Yeah, I don't disagree, and I would say that our association, other associations, the per pupil funding is always a major focus. So, we do say the same things, we do push, but as happens every year, we see these other projects that take millions and millions of dollars out of the state aid fund. So we do have to continue to share that concern and petitions. So
exactly, and that's my consistent concern, that you look back to where funding per pupil was. I just did this the other day, 14 years ago, to what it is today. And it's ridiculous. It doesn't provide what this profession needs to be effective. So we're just struggling by, and they're not trying to make up that deficit situation that they left us in. They're just, we'll give you close to inflation, but not even quite.
Right. So any other questions on the legislative piece for Ben? Nope, I don't believe so. Okay.
Birgit does have some really great information. She represented all of us and beyond that with a trip with Washington, D.C. And so she's put together a summary and some pictures, and she's going to share that. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, I was excited to bring back some information to you from the trip to Washington, D.C. that I took from January 27th through the 31st. And it was nothing short of an amazing trip for me. I had no idea the profound impact we could have on Capitol Hill. And I was really proud of our delegation from Michigan there, and especially for Oakland County. So I wanted to take some time to update you on a couple keynote speakers that impressed me at the Advocacy Institute, and then tell you a little bit about how it was on Capitol Hill. One of the speakers that addressed us was Dr. Kimiona Burke, The company she represented is called Excel in Ed, and she presented the science of reading to help students learn to read. There are 32 states that have passed laws to have science of reading curriculum taught to address this, but Michigan doesn't happen to be one of them. Now, I will, true confessions here. I know we do a good job in reading. She really struck me with the data, even though it was nationwide data, the correlation she made to the importance of reading when she said 88% of students who fail to earn a diploma were struggling in third grade to read. And that you can go back and make that connection is staggering, and I just really appreciated what she had to say. A lady named Tammy Pfeiffer, who's chief of staff of a company called Unite, and that is all capital letters. I don't know what that all stands for. I don't remember her saying it. But it's a national organization seeking to ease division across political and cultural differences. She's a co-creator of something called the Dignity Index, and that's an 8-point scale for measuring the dignity or contempt in the language that we, in our culture, use with each other when we disagree. She acknowledged how polarized our culture has become and how that creates distrust. Her premise is that in order to solve the polarization, we must solve the contempt issue. And if I could have grabbed a bunch of these for everybody to have one, I would. I'm definitely going to bring it back to MASB and hope that it shows up in our ALC sometime. But if you're interested in looking at this, it was really staggering at how close we come in our verbiage when we disagree. If we don't take time to hear and understand and appreciate one another, how easy it is to slip down a slippery slope of if we're tearing down and thinking people don't even belong. And this happens in our culture. This is where the hate is driven that we're seeing, as opposed to raising people up and coming to common agreements. It was a powerful presentation. And somebody I was really pleased to be able to hear in person was Temple Grandin. Having a son on the spectrum, I learned a lot from her in my personal life and her books that she's written in the past so that I could understand him. And it was funny because, maybe not funny, but interesting. The president, Virginia, the president of the NSBA Board of Directors, said she was in Colorado doing something. Now, Temple Grandin is on the staff at Colorado State University, and their paths crossed. And when Temple heard who Virginia represented, she volunteered to be a speaker. I think they still paid her, but Virginia was the easiest person she's ever signed up to speak at a conference because she wanted to come and tell board members about what it's like to have different thinkers and how important they are. And that was the premise of her speech. And it was really excellent. And she was a great presenter. And she just authored a new book. It was released last year. It's called Autism in Education, the Way I See It. I purchased a copy for you, Heidi, and for the staff, so I will leave that with you later. Monday night, the K-12 Alliance hosted a gathering, and there we met reps Alyssa Slotkin and Haley Stevens. They're not up there, but I think on the next slide, so Temple Grandin's on the bottom, and if you could pop to the next slide, I think, yeah. On the left there, it was this really happy coincidence, if you will. This young lady walks up to me, and she says, "You look so familiar to me." And she starts to say her name, and I just was like, I know exactly who you are. You're Lady Mason. And it was Lady Jordan Matthews Mason. She graduated in 2021. She's at George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and she's doing a 3-month or something like that temporary internship with Haley Stevens. And what a fun connection that was to make. She's majoring in political communications and theater, which I told her I went to all her plays from Malden to high school. And that was just, I don't know, it was a really fun highlight of the trip to run into a dragon there. The picture on the right, that is the entire Oakland County contingency that was in D.C., and that's in the Senate office building. And if you go back to the previous slide, that's where we heard Debbie Stabenow. And then we went into another building where we heard from the representatives you see there. So on Capitol Hill on Wednesday, we started out with in the morning breakfast where Gary Peters couldn't make it, but he sent a representative. We heard from Debbie Stabenow, and if you haven't heard, she's retiring. And
like Orion grandmother.
Yeah, I know she is. We have students from her family. My understanding is that Alyssa Slotkin's going to be one of the Democrats running for that seat. I don't know who else is, but MASB gave her an award for being a champion of education for so many years of her public service. After that, we went into another building. They're all kind of connected. It gets really interesting in D.C. And we had a whole slate of representatives that were coming to see us. And first on was Lisa McLean, and she's there in the top center. And interesting to note that we were up there. One of the things we were advocating for was the full funding of IDEA, as you all know. IDEA sponsorship bill 4519 on the federal level for full funding has 134 co-sponsors. Only 8 of those are Republican. And I'm happy to report to you that Lisa McLean and also John James happen to be 2 of those Republicans. Now, Lisa McLean said to us when she told us that, she said, I've had some of my colleagues call me and say, you're a traitor, you went to the other side. And her response was beautiful when she said, no, I like to think I went to the side of the children. And to me, that's what the message is that has to get out. We're on the side of the kids. Right. We're not on any political side. We're on the side of the kids. So I learned quickly that CRs, also known continuing resolutions, are what's getting our budget. It's what's carrying our government. They haven't passed a budget. We're doing continuing resolutions, and the next dates are 3/1 and 3/8, and every representative that we talked to said, we kind of think that's how the whole year's going to go, till 25. Because right now the appropriations committees are meeting and they're starting to plan for 2025. So it's a really unique situation that we find our government in. Nobody's extremely happy about it, but they all predict that's how the rest of the fiscal year is going to go. On top of advocating for IDEA, we were also advocating for our title expenditures to be saved because it's the year for ESEA to be reapproved. And one of the part of the homework that NSBA had us do, and I'm going to give this to you because I took this to Washington, D.C. here. and this is what we handed out to our representatives. Every district in Oakland County and probably Wayne County did this homework. And what I want to point out to you, you're free to read the whole thing, but on the second page, Andrea put together, I think maybe she had it already, and I've highlighted the numbers at the very bottom, is the IDEA funding shortage. This is just our district, and it goes back to the 18-19 school year. I want you all to be aware, when we talk about IDEA isn't fully funded, this is the impact on our district. And I was prepared. I ended up going with Barb Annis to John James. We're not in his district, and he was so gracious. I wanted to support her. She was like the Lone Ranger with him, and so I went with her. And when I introduced myself, I told him I was from Lake Orion, not in your district. And he goes, I don't care. We're all here for the kids. It's okay. So we were on great ground, and we were ready to talk to him about IDEA, but he's also co-sponsored it. And he took the words right out of my mouth when he said, IDEA isn't just for special ed, it's for all kids, because look what it's doing to your budgets. So in case you hadn't seen the real numbers, I just wanted you to know what I took with me to DC and how this really directly impacts our districts. And that's the story we wanted our representatives to hear, not just, you're not funding it, fund it. Look at the impact that's happening on your local districts. So somebody said to me when I told them I went to DC, and they said, oh, isn't it a shame you couldn't have just done all that here with them? And I'm here to tell you it was so different being on their turf and being in their buildings and sitting and meeting their staff members and having these conversations. And then Wednesday morning, the other thing that we got to do that we couldn't do here is we met with the Department of Agriculture, we met with the Department of Education, we met with a company called COSN, C-O-SN, and that stands for the Center of School Networking, which sounds nebulous, but they're ed tech. And the big hitters I heard also from Advocacy Institute conference, from that company, and from the Department of Education was the extreme concern about cybersecurity. And one of the takeaways, and I've shared this with Ben already, one of their takeaways for us as boots on the ground is make sure you're doing operations drills to prepare for the attack so you're ready. And because they're saying public schools are the biggest target in cybersecurity right now. It's not a matter of when, but if. I just said that backwards. It's not a matter of if, but when. It's going to happen, and it's costing, last year I think it cost $53 billion in town time for districts. There's insurance out there, but it's getting harder and harder to fund because it's so costly and there's no funding for that insurance either. So that just really hit me. I can give you more information, I'm leaving some more information with Ben about COSN because that was really interesting. we did a little bit of talk about AI, and I brought some information, and now that's not Advocacy Institute, that's artificial intelligence. And the number one concern about companies, and that was how, when we do that, and if we do that, protecting our information. That once you put something out there in that realm, it's out there. You no longer control it, and there's a lot to be concerned with student data and student information, and it's rapidly evolving. So all in all, I want to just say that this was my first trip to Washington, D.C., and I was a very good attendee, and I had people saying, oh my gosh, you have got to go do something. Skip a class, take an Uber, and go do something. Well, I didn't. I took all my classes. I was there. And I want to tell you that when we met with Lisa McLean's staff came into the room, and all of us are in there, her chief of staff came. Now, I'm wearing my brand new Lake Orion name tag, Julie. And her chief of staff, Nick, comes up to me, and he calls me by name and from Lake Orion, and he pulls me and 7 others aside. And he says, I have an opportunity to take a few people on a Capitol Dome tour. And those are special because only representatives, well, any of the Congress people can go, or their chief of staff, and they take small groups. You can't sign up for this tour. And by George, I went. We went. It was this incredible trail of running through the tunnels and passing all these security checkpoints and through the halls of Congress and signing a liability because we climbed 13 flights of stairs just to get to the dome part where I didn't share the picture where I'm inside the dome on the upper level. Right by the mural on the dome. And then we climbed through another bunch of stairs to get to the very top. And I didn't submit the picture in time for it to be included, but on the Capitol Dome, now you guys will appreciate this. We're at, this is where we're at up here. We climbed out through the infrastructure all the way to the very tippy top, just below where the lights are. And if the lights are on, Congress is in session. If they're not in session. But there we are. There were just 7 of us. So there's 3 from Clarkston, Steve and Jackie and Stephanie, and then there's Mary Hanser from Oxford, Barb Amonis from Rochester, and Laura Dodd from Huron Valley. And it was an experience I'll never forget. So I started telling people after that, so ask me what I did in D.C. So that was my trip to Washington, D.C., and I would do it again in a heartbeat. It was wonderful to advocate for our districts and our students. So thanks for letting me share with you.
Thank you, Birgit.
Yeah, thank you for giving that summary. And like you're saying, I think it would be good that we keep that in mind. And as it pops up each year, consider having a board member go and the superintendent go along with and work together. And that was not a joke.
There were some
Scott.
superintendents that went.
Absolutely.
And Berkeley sent Megan Ashkin.
If you want to send the whole cabinet, I get it, Birgit. We can do that.
It looked like you were working yourself into a trip there.
A learning experience, Scott.
A learning experience. There you go.
The other thing that I wanted to share prior to turning it back over to Danielle is just a reminder. February 27th, 2024, we have our non-homestead replacement millage. And again, we maintain our 18 mills, no increase there, and then also the sinking fund replacement. And that, again, as a replacement, is going to allow us to expand our ability to purchase transportation vehicles as well as technology, as well as the previously allowed, and we're doing that at the same rate in which we currently are. So our millage rates will stay the same for both of those. Absentee ballots have been out this Saturday, I believe. The early 9-day voting period actually starts. So a lot of people have already voted, and people will be, and they can continue to get the absentee ballots all the way up to the actual election day on February 27th. So just encouraging people to get out there and vote, and we have lots of information on the website. Any questions, reach out to us. We want to make sure people have all the information necessary. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Birgit.
I have one more thing. It's not about Washington, D.C., but it is about the OCSBA GRC committee, and I just wanted to let you all know that I am now the co-chair of that with the intent of taking that over next year. So coming in hot and heavy with the legislative advocacy stuff. So
wow, good for you, Birgit. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so now that I'm jealous of DC, but that's okay. All right, so the next thing we have, just to note more than anything, is, and we will vote on this, we're going for our next meeting on the February 28th. It was scheduled from 3 to 8 p.m. as that is a workshop. And we're going to revise that, or potentially revise that, and just start that at 3:30 because that is one of our celebrations of the staff at the particular schools. So I know there's, people that are going to want to attend that, and I believe it ends at 3, so that all gives us an opportunity to get back here before. I just want to say which one it is. Yes, that's the Walden Staff of the Year. Yep, celebration. So just a note on why that change would occur. So. And then also next in our board packets are the MASB Director Region 8 ballot. I don't know if that's going to be a great mystery for us. I hope not.
I have questions.
Questions about that? What are your questions? Bring them on. And that, we're going to be voting on that later this evening as well. So
Who are we going to be voting for?
You
got to say it.
I will. In the board packet, we do have 3 nominees for our region, which is Region 8. We have Birgit McQuiston, Melanie Hines from Wayne Westland, and Evelyn Pridemore from Redford Union. And on our motion tonight is to vote for Ms. McQuiston to continue as our representative, so board of directors. So yes. Yes. Very good. Okay, moving on, we are up to student achievement and our assistant superintendent update with Heidi.
All right. First, I'd like to thank all of the pilot teachers and those that presented tonight. I think, someone had mentioned their passion. That is, they have had that throughout this whole entire pilot, and it is a ton of work. So I really do appreciate all of the efforts that they have put into that important decision. In addition to that, I was just looking at my calendar because our last meeting was end of January, which Ben and I started Superintendent's Student Advisory Council. We had talked about that through the strategic plan. We actually kicked that off on January 31st. So we had students apply to the council. We selected 14 students and met with them for the first time on that 31st, and it was just a meeting of getting to know one another, going over the purpose of the council. We have a great student representation throughout the high school, so Ben and I had a great time with the students, and we are meeting with them again February 28th. So we look forward to that.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions for Heidi on that portion? Nope, okay, we're on to bond.
All right, regarding the bond, well, today, the high school /CIRC bond committee met. We met at CIRC, and the whole couple hours today was touring every in and out nook and cranny of CIRC. And going down memory lane quite a few times. So that was a great time spent today. But again, the committee, it was important for the committee to know everything that was in CIRC, who's housed where, what the purpose is, why they're there. And then we will meet again next Wednesday, and we'll be going to the high school. So more updates then. This committee is still in the infancy stages of planning. Really, like I said, today's purpose was just making sure that everybody understood what was in CIRC. So.
Yes. Yeah, it was a trip down memory lane. And I commented a few times that it was like being in a museum in some ways, just especially in the older parts where, not a lot happens. So it is a relic at this point. So it was interesting to see those. So yeah, and as Heidi mentions, it's very much in the infancy and just more, what do we have? Where are we going to put people? And, that. So lots more info on that to come. So any questions for Heidi on bond teams? Perfect. Okay. So that moves us to the curriculum committee report, and I believe Birgit is going to do that for us tonight.
I've got that one for you. We met on Tuesday, February 6th, and we had 3 discussion items. The first, you heard way more than I could have ever done justice to for the math pilot program, and that recommendation that the teachers brought forward. The second thing we discussed was an update on world language on the middle school level. The World Language Department has noticed that some middle school students are not as prepared as they should be going into high school into the next level of language. And this is what it says, and you have this in your board packet. Attached is a letter or contract that parents and students will receive at the middle level to remind them that this is a high school class that all middle schoolers may not be ready for. There's also an explanation with options of how to fulfill the world language requirement at the high school level. It's important that parents and students realize the rigor of the course and know that the rigor will not be lowered due to the class being a high school course offered for high school credit. We also discussed legislation, and Heidi is working with some legislators and county representatives to advocate for students in the areas of child protective services, schools of choice, and homeschool. And our meeting concluded just a little over an hour. Questions for Heidi?
Any questions on the curriculum committee? Heather, you look like you have a question.
Just any more insight on, as to why we were seeing that with world language and what the, besides the letter, anything else that'll be changing or shifting there? And how long has that been in the works? Is it new, like as far as the?
Yeah, I would say, we've noticed it probably since COVID. I think for a couple reasons. One is that parents and students kind of forget that it is a high school class. Teachers trying to accommodate students, but we have students that may not just be developmentally ready for a high school class in 7th grade. So we have to acknowledge that, and I think parents and students have to understand that. And we can't change the curriculum because they're granted high school credit. The other thing that I think is that there is this perception of students to check off taking their world language at middle school as just I completed it because it is a high school requirement, but it's only a high school requirement of 1 credit. And so there are other options to fulfill the other credit. So we also think that there may not be some understanding of you have different options that can fulfill that second requirement. So this letter is working to try to explain that communication of how to fulfill the requirement, but also a reminder and a signed commitment acknowledging that it truly is a high school course. So you really have to take that into consideration when signing up for the course.
And just for my information, they're not assigned a GPA when they get that course, right? So like essentially, if they're not prepared, is it pass fail, like for that course and then for them to get a credit? Or is it like, hey, listen, you're not ready, so we're not, does that, you know what I'm saying? So like, what is the?
Yeah, no,
the evaluation part?
Right. It is, they are granted high school credit if they do pass. However, the problem is becoming, we have seen that if students are passing at a lower level, it's more difficult when they go to the high school, and let's say they're going into Spanish 3, when maybe they received a 2 or less at middle school for Spanish 2. So we're really trying to make sure that parents and students understand that you really have to achieve at a certain level in order to make sure that you're prepared for the next level.
Fair enough, thank you.
And although it doesn't go on your high school GPA, at least in it shows up on your transcript with the grade.
Right.
So
Yes.
when you apply to college, to be like, oh, I saw in 7th grade you took Spanish 1 and got a C.
Yes.
So it's out there. It sticks. It's just like Orion doesn't compute it into the number.
Correct.
But it's out there.
Yep.
It's good information. Thank you for sharing that.
And Heidi, are they allowed to repeat in that case? So if in 8th grade they took Spanish 2, like your example, and they didn't do as well as they thought they should, instead of just going to Spanish 3 freshman year, they can take Spanish 2 again, correct?
Absolutely. That's really wouldn't be the idea, but yes, they do have that opportunity for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Okay. Anything else on curriculum? Okay, perfect. Thank you. And now we're going to move on to Human Resources with Assistant Superintendent updates with Adam.
Thank you, Danielle. Certified staff introductions, you met Andy and Natalie earlier tonight. 2 additional certified staff recommendations. Kyle Blake. Kyle is being recommended tonight as a social studies teacher at Lake Orion High School. He recently worked in Clarkston Community Schools for the past 9 years, earned his bachelor's degree from Michigan State University. And Jane Decker as well is being recommended tonight as a marketing teacher at Lake Orion High School. Jane taught for 20 years previously in Missouri, and then most recently at Waterford Schools. She earned her undergrad and master's degree from Lindenwood University. All 4 of these individuals, excited to be welcoming them to the Dragon family and honored to recommend them to you tonight in their respective positions.
Is the one from out of state coming this year, or is this a hire for next year?
No, this is a current hire. She was hired that semester. She moved in the summer. She taught for 20 years previously in Missouri, but in the summer moved to Michigan, and she was working in Waterford the first semester.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay.
And then we have tenure recipients. Place a very high value on teachers earning tenure here in our district, so it's my honor to recognize 3 individuals tonight that were hired at a mid-year mark. We do a big tenure recognition ceremony at our opening day ceremony in the fall, or in the summer in August there. But these 3 individuals were mid-year hires and therefore earned their tenure at the mid-year mark. So Kelsey Fisher, Lake Orion High School, Asante Green, Lake Orion High School, and Tiffany Smirtnick from Oakview Middle School. So excited to present them and honor them with them earning their tenure status.
Wow, excellent. That's awesome.
And then just a couple of quick things just to make the board aware. We did open our new student enrollment this week for the 2024-25 school year. That mainly is driven towards our kindergarten students, so that those numbers will start to hopefully fill in. We have our kindergarten information nights coming up in early March, so excited for those. And also today, our 2024-25 school year calendars were sent out to the community. So excited to have those out in the community's hands for planning purposes.
Yes, thank you. Any questions, anything for Adam? No, well, yeah, thank you for getting those out. People start asking, quite early.
Yes, they do.
And I know it's appreciated by the community to have those. So like you said, for planning purposes, if nothing else. So very good. So that moves us to our Superintendent Evaluation Committee report. We just met on Monday. And Birgit and Jake, feel free to jump in if I don't explain something correctly or you have something to add. We had a few topics to cover. One of our first topic was really the timeline. As you know, it's on our board calendar of when, we're meeting to do Ben's evaluation, and something that has actually been previously talked about a few years ago when Jake was on the committee previously, was potentially moving one of the evaluations before the election, just to have.
In election years. Moving them so that we finalize the evaluation before the election. Susan and I were on the committee when that.
Yes.
And it's nothing for us, but it just creates a longer-term perspective that becomes board practice to do that and have that wrapped up, so that if anything happens during the election and a member isn't reelected or something like that happens, it doesn't factor into the evaluation because that's been finished before. So when we discussed that when we were moving to a calendar year evaluation cycle, because we used to always do our evaluations mid-year, so it wouldn't have been a factor. So it was just something that we thought would be best practice in an election year. So the meetings invites that we have don't line up to that. So you might see them move earlier into October instead of having them in November.
Right, yep, and that was just the thought process on that. We didn't come to a firm kind of conclusion on that.
We basically did say that it's for the benefit of the superintendent.
Right.
So if Ben wants us to move, we volunteered ourselves to say those, even though they've sent those invites, there's still more than enough time to find time in October for us to do it instead of doing those last 2 sessions in November.
Yes. And then we also, as you're aware, in, the past couple of years, Ben has had individual goals aside from, so when we do our evaluation rubric, we've got the 6 main categories, and then we've given him some additional goals. The past few years, one, was attendance, one was, community relations in the past. And within the committee, we kind of came to the consensus, we really didn't have a goal, and we didn't identify any particular goals to give him this year. And that was more because we get those strategic plan updates very regularly, and our goals are always driven by that either way. Did you have a thought on that, Ben, or?
No, I was just going to say, we had talked about the strategic plan really driving the work, and then the rubric as well, and that's where those goals were derived from. So we talked a lot about focusing on what was in there rather than pulling out and giving great detail on a certain area, unless there was an area, that people wanted more information on, and I certainly could do that in our updates as well. And to be clear, previous goal was on student attendance, not my attendance.
Yes.
So, just to be clear.
Yes. Very good. So yeah, we didn't identify any goals, specific goals for Ben this year. He's just going to continue to focus on the areas in the strategic plan and, provide us updates from there. As we know, there have been many legal changes, as of recently, as far as evaluations and things like that. So we had to spend some time going through, something Ben highlighted was there were multiple highly effective categories. Now there's only 3. There's effective, developing, and needs support, I believe. Look at me go. So just, to keep that on our radar for when we go through and do his evaluation and whatnot, you'll see some changes on that. And then we just touched briefly on our board operating procedures and the superintendent evaluation portion of that. And it does call out I think it's even years, correct?
Yes, beginning of even years.
Beginning
yes.
of even years to just take a look at the contract to make sure it's still, and I know you have thoughts on that, Jake, or you have
No,
some?
that's just, that we discussed it, so if Ben has anything, he'll bring it back to us at an upcoming meeting that
Right.
will happen April or May. Yeah.
Right, just to, make sure we're,
But if any the operating procedures do say if any board member has an issue, you bring it to that committee so that, and that's how it would be addressed. So both sides, we're not 7 people going to them individually with our thoughts. They come through that committee. That was a change to our board operating procedures
Okay, yep.
that happened the last time we updated it.
okay, yeah, perfect. And that was the gist of our meeting. Any questions, comments? Susan, yes.
Yeah, I just want to clarify something because we're all very familiar with the superintendent process.
Yes.
And I just want to clarify, it's not that Ben doesn't have goals.
Right, no, just
Thank you.
additional goals.
Yeah, it's additional goals. So there are a lot of goals
Yes.
within the superintendent evaluation process that exist. There's also the strategic plan
Right.
that we use to guide his performance. So it's not that he doesn't have goals.
Right, it's just we didn't exactly.
Focus area, if you call
Right,
it,
those were
yeah.
more your focus areas. We didn't identify a focus area versus, and,
It's a good point, though, too.
yeah, he doesn't have goals. No, he does definitely.
There's no
Yeah,
goals,
wait,
there's no
he's good with
focus areas.
Right, exactly. So that's perfect point, Susan. It's just, his goals are driven by the strategic plan, and we didn't identify any additional focus areas that we felt. And the one thing Ben did point out is just because we don't identify something this year doesn't mean we can't identify something next year. So this is not a exact or hard and fast rule of saying, next year we might say, we have an additional focus area for you. So just keep that in mind. Just because we didn't have something this year doesn't mean it can't be different next year, and we can evaluate that year to year. So, okay, anything else on that? No?
Just to complete that, and then those ideas would be brought to the committee
Right.
so that the committee could discuss.
Exactly, yep. So, very good, okay. And with that, we are going to finance and operations with an update from Andrew.
Thank you. I've got 2 things on the agenda tonight. First, we have the wireless communication ground lease agreement amendment. This was work that John had been doing for quite some time, so hopefully we're getting to a finalization on this. This is in regards to the cell tower located on Stadium Drive. near the high school. It's a renegotiated contract with American Tower, and we're asking for the board to provide authority through the resolution for the superintendent, Ben, to execute these documents. So what's included in the packet is, one, the resolution asking for the authority for him to sign. The second is the actual First Amendment to the wireless communications ground lease between Lake Orion and American Tower. And then third is the assignment, recognizing the multiple changes going back to 1994 of different titles. This contract will provide a one-time payment of $110,000 to the district. It will create a 50-year lease term, which commences September 1st, 23, and provide for a $3,500 monthly rental payment going forward, which will increase annually by 3%. So any questions on that?
Questions for Andrea on the, nope, okay, I think we're good.
Okay. The second one, we're asking for the board to authorize a purchase of laptops from C-High Computer Products. This was a previously approved purchase under the bond application. It's providing a refresh, because we're already at 5 years of the initial, for devices for grades 3 through 5, as well as teacher and staff devices at the high school, Learning Options, and Pine Tree Center. The price is not to exceed $1,456,290, and that was bid under the cooperative contract pricing. The student devices are approximately $1,200,000, and the teacher and staff devices about $250,000, breaking those two out. Any questions there?
Questions on the technology bid for laptops? Nope, okay.
Thank you.
That was quick. I'm like, that was a quick one. All right, well, that moves us right on to our action items. So may I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the following consent agenda items. First, approve payments of the January bills in the amount of $8,585,639.20. Approve minutes from the January 24th regular and February 6th, 2024 Curriculum Committee meetings. Also, out-of-state overnight field trip request, Scripps Robotics to Houston, April 16th through the 20th, 2024. LOHS DECA, New York City, New York, May 8th through the 11th, 2024. LOHS Percussion to Dayton, Ohio, April 17th through the 21st, 2024. LOHS Winds to Dayton, Ohio, April 19th through the 21st, 2024. LOHS Varsity Winter Guard to Dayton, Ohio, April 10th through the 14th, 2024. And also the Head Start Coordinators Report.
Thank you, Scott. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda passes. From there, we will move on to approving the revised board meeting schedule. May I please have a motion to approve the 23-24 revised board meeting schedule?
I move to approve the revised 2023-24 board meeting schedule as presented.
Thank you, Heather. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Nope. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The 23-24 revised board meeting schedule passes. May I please have a motion to authorize a submission of the MASB Board of Directors Region 8 ballot?
Want to take this one, Bergen? Oh, no. I move to authorize the superintendent secretary to submit the MASB Board of Directors Region 8 ballot on behalf of the district, selecting Birgit McQuiston for the position.
Thank you, Jake. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you for all the support.
Thank you for all the support.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Perfect.
Welcome to the firm.
Well, the motion passes.
Hopefully, many other boards take up the same resolution.
That's right. Exactly. Moving on, may I please have a motion to approve the certified new hires?
I move to approve 4 certified new hires as presented.
Thank you, Heather. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you for the support. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion to approve the certified new hires passes. Okay.
Jake?
Oh, Jake, I almost forgot. Gosh, I didn't write that down. Jake?
Oh, are we?
Jake forgot.
We hadn't been doing that. the last
Well, because we
couple
haven't really had any, so.
Okay. Welcome, I like the way teachers welcome students to the classroom. We like to welcome everybody by name. So welcome to Kyle, Jane, Amanda, and Natalie.
Woo! Woohoo, yes. Okay, moving on. May I please have a motion to adopt the American Tower First Amendment Wireless Communications Ground Lease Resolution?
I move to adopt the resolution to approve First Amendment to wireless communications ground lease as presented.
Thank you, Birgit. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Heather. Any discussion? Okay, and I believe this is a roll call. Yes.
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 Excellent, thank you. The motion passes, thank you. Okay, and lastly, certainly not least, may I please have a motion to approve the technology bid award?
I move to authorize administration to purchase student and staff laptops from C-High Computer Products Incorporated not to exceed $1,456,290 as presented.
Thank you, Jake. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Heather. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion to authorize the technology bid award passes. Thank you, everybody. And with that, we have public participation for other non-action items or topics, and we have none, so that moves us right on to recap and next steps.
All right, and there was nothing to acknowledge.
Okay, nothing to acknowledge. Then we have our closing comments, and we will start with Andrea.
Okay, I'd just like to say welcome to the new staff. I was able to attend the Teacher of the Year this morning at the high school, which was wonderful to see. And I just wanted to comment on how impressed I am with the students that speak, not only there, but then again tonight, the leadership class. I think it's pretty amazing what these students do, as well as having Pine Tree Center here, having worked with that budget from the ground up. It's always great to see them in person. And then thank you, Birgit, for all your work that you have done legislatively and going to DC, and for all the work of teaching and learning for the math pilot.
Excellent. Thank you. Adam.
Yep, Teachers of the Year, we have been making the tour of buildings. It's been awesome. So it's, this morning we were at the high school, so great to recognize them. Also included in those Staff of the Year are the Support Staff of the Year and the Ancillary Staff of the Year. Tomorrow morning, I think we're at Weber, bright and early. No sleeping in tomorrow, but it's awesome just to hear the, administration, see the families, see the staff. This morning we got to hear from some students, so it's a great celebration of them and their hard work. Shout out to the teachers who presented tonight, along with Emily, Carrie, and Lisa, Danielle, Jen, Liz, Jess, and Lauren. Great job tonight, and a shout out to all the teachers that participated in the math pilot. It, like everybody's pointed out tonight, it's a lot of hard work, but it helps drive the district to excellence. Shout out to our Pine Tree staff and students for their presentation, and definitely going to need to make a stop for the Dragons Brew Crew. I'm excited.
yeah.
For sure. Excellent. Thank you. Heidi.
All right, well, happy Valentine's Day. Right? We still have a few hours left. And happy birthday to Mark as well. He's been all day, I think, we've been showing him the love. So happy birthday, Mark. And
Don't expect it tomorrow.
yeah, no, yeah, one day a year. And then again, just a shout out to Lake Orion High School for their leadership. Although I did, as their presentation tonight, I did notice somewhat of a pattern of
second hour.
Yeah, fourth hour. I have to look into that a little bit. But it's just amazing to hear how much they do throughout the school. And it had, I think it was Brady that had mentioned the culture. And it really, they really do have a big part in the culture at the high school. So big shout out to them as well. So,
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, and happy birthday to Mark. I'll, just keep on with it. And also to Birgit's grandson, Leo. It's a special day today as well. But just thank you to everybody who's been able to be parts of the staff celebrations. That means a lot to, the staff whenever we show up to show the support. And special thanks to the C5 group as they created this calendar, which was very thoughtful as you look through it. There's a lot of purpose and intention in it. But I'm glad to see that got out today. And then the three presentations, it just struck me what makes the Dragon community so strong. We had this group showing the inclusion that we educate all children. Then we had extremely passionate teachers talking about instruction. They could have been here forever talking about math instruction, I think. And then certainly we had our high school leaders, how we develop our students and they become dragons. So it kind of hit me as we're listening to all of that. So we do a great job in this district. We have a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, thank you. Scott.
Man, I don't know if I got anything to say that nobody said yet. I will say this, my daughter Evelyn, who's a junior, she's been in student leadership since middle school, but she got her first committee this term, so she's the driving safety committee or something. And the time and effort and stress that they put into the things is crazy. She actually came up to work the other day and she's like, I got to run some stuff by you, this is my budget, but I really want to do this, but it costs this, and I don't have enough money. And I'm like, yeah, so you can't do that. And it's so funny. They're like, well, what do you mean? I always do it. I'm like, yeah, I know you do, but now you're not dealing with my money. You're dealing with somebody else's. So it's such a great program and just love it. And all the opportunities all our kids have throughout the district is great. So thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Scott. Birgit.
Well, I just have to echo in on all the presentations, how heartwarming it is to hear from our own. And can I just say, all the dragons that keep coming back, talk about grow your own. I think we're growing our own. That's really exciting to me to see that. How wonderful to be a teacher and have one of your students come back and your teacher. I just think that's so cool. Speaking of teachers, we still have 2 left in the audience. Thank you for staying with us till the end, people. You're awesome. We appreciate you. But it was a very nice crowd with us here this evening, and I appreciated that. And happy birthday to Mark. We're just going to keep the thing going, right? And I appreciate everyone's support of my MASB run again. It's a year for me. Lots of elections going on this year, but I really appreciate your support and for your support also, I've heard from many of you with my trip to DC, and it was a big deal for me. So thanks for indulging me. I just say I'm very passionate about this, so thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Birgit. Susan.
It was hard to find something that someone hasn't said, but yes, Birgit, thank you for representing us, for representing all of us, representing the students. Really appreciate you taking your passion and all of our passion with you to support our community and our school district. Echo what everyone said about people joining us tonight. It is always the highlight of the meetings to see our students, our staff, people come and present things that are going on with such passion and conviction. It's always the best part of the meeting. So thank you all for coming. Happy birthday, Mark. I'm just repeating everything, so I'll just turn it over. But thank you all so much. Looking forward to seeing you guys in a couple weeks.
Perfect. Thank you. Jake.
Yeah, so everybody that came, it was interesting. There was one thing about the pine tree when they talked about just the importance of running the program that several years ago when we had to close a building, what's going to happen to that building? And good things happen, I like using Steve Hawley's term, point positive. And that allowed that to happen. So she said we're bringing in students from all over Oakland County to give them this vital programming. For Bridges, I'm so excited to see that as representatives of the community, what we're trying to push for is the best academic programming we can have, and to go through all the efforts to challenge what had been done and to come away with this. What we were told in curriculum committee is this was the most rigorous, and that's where we're going. And I was really glad to hear that that we're bringing all of this rigor and attention to our math programming to best prepare our students for the future. And then the election is coming up, so when we selected it back in September, we would have thought the presidential primaries might have been more interesting, more contested, because we're very early in that process. But I just want to put out there that this is, even though that might not be holding your interest, just all the voters, this is a critical election for the long-term stability of the district. So getting out there and voting is important to Lake Orion schools, even if you're not interested in the presidential primary. Still try to get out and cast your ballot on our two initiatives.
Perfect. Thank you, Jake. Heather.
Happy birthday, Mark. Really, really glad you were born. Echoing what, has anybody said that to you today? I do that for people on their birthday. Really glad you were born. Yeah, I mean, I echo about the presentations, just remarkable passion. All of the Teacher of the Year ones I've been able to get to are just the best part of when I first got last year, like invitations, I was like, I get to go to those, because it's just like so, for me, especially being so greatly impacted by teachers in my life, and it's just really cool to be a part of it. And lastly, something Birgit said jumped out at me about what you learn about just the contention and how we can sort of bridge that. And I think we have such a privilege as board members to be such a good example of that to our community, in the way that we interact with each other and in the way that we take wherever we stand on certain issues or things, that we put humanity at the forefront of that. And I think it's so, what a cool thing to be able to do. And I think by setting that example. And so that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, of course, I have to say happy birthday, Mark. I know you have to at this point. Yeah, thank you so much to everyone who joined us tonight, the presentations, all of them. Matthew and Logan from Pine Tree, can't wait to come get coffee. And yeah, thank you so much, Birgit, for your presentation and for your time in DC and just your insights and thoughts on that. It sounds like it was amazing. And the more we can advocate, like you said, it's for the kids, right? The more we can all be advocates for that, the better off, not just our district, but all districts will be for that. So thank you for your work on that. It's greatly appreciated. And with that, we are adjourned.
I'm totally hitting the gavel.